So, greetings and welcome to Kevin Paul Psychic Medium Show. I'm the paranormal edition tonight, and I think there may be some ghosts that are making this technology do some crazy things, but we'll discover that later. I'm your host, Kevin Paul, and I'm an international psychic and medium and host of Kevin's Mystical Quickie Show and interviews just like this on my YouTube channel. I'm an educator. I teach folks how to develop their abilities. I'm a paranormal investigator as well. I'm a writer and speaker on all things paranormal. I'm a trusted source for private psychic and mediumship readings in person or remotely. And my mission is really to help others learn and demystify the paranormal as well as heal and grow. So welcome. And on this show, we're going into the world of the paranormal with my guests from the Dark Explorers Paranormal team from Texas. With over 27 years combined experience, the Dark Explorers specialize in assisting clients battling the dark in their home state of Texas and across the country to help explain the unexplained. So welcome to my show, Jordan Rodriguez and John Montelongo.
How's it going?
Hi.
Hi, welcome. So this little format is about me getting to know you guys and the rest of the world getting to know who you are, how you do it, what do you do, and all those good things.
Yes.
So welcome, and thank you so much for being my guest this evening. And this will be posted on my YouTube channel and hopefully on Facebook if Facebook ever gets its act together this evening. But we're going to go ahead and move forward. So guys, tell me, how did you guys get into this field of the paranormal and doing investigations?
Well, I guess we'll just talk about individually and then how we actually came together. So pretty much, I'm kind of those, I guess, I don't know how rare it is, but I was actually born into this type of stuff. Both sides of my family dabbled in the witchcraft area and the healing area and all that other stuff. So I just kind of grew into it and just, it was just everyday normal life, seeing shadows, hearing things, all this other stuff. My grandma was like curandera, so that was a big practice as well, and into the household as well. And so, it was just something that was every single day that was part of my life, and really didn't take shape until when I started getting older and was able to understand it a lot better. It's when it just started to take off, and it kind of went from there. So like I said before, I was actually born into this type of thing.
And this is where your folks are from, Mexico, right?
Yeah, my great grandma and all them. I guess how they say it, they were already here when Mexico was Texas and when Texas was born, so to speak. So they were already on this side, But yeah, I mean, you would say, we had some family out there in Mexico City, and all them. We're out there.
Excellent. So you grew up in that environment where the paranormal, the mystical, the metaphysical, whichever folks want to say, was just normal. That's nice.
Yeah, I wouldn't say like it was paranormal of what I grew up in. It was more of like, what would you say? Like you said, metaphysical and supernatural type of stuff, and
spiritual, right?
Yeah. So I grew up into that area of it. So.
All right, cool, excellent. How about you, Jordan?
Well, mine was kind of the same way. So I'm actually a bi-generational person that has abilities. So my great grandmother had it, and then my great great grandmother had it. Then my grandmother had it, and then I have it. I grew up in a very Catholic family, so we didn't really talk about stuff like that when I was growing up. So I didn't learn about much of it until I was older, because I was one of those kids that grew up constant anxiety, didn't know what I was feeling, didn't know what I was, anything like that. So it wasn't until some years later when I had told my family what I was experiencing, and that's when my grandma had kind of came forward and was like, so we do have this, but we don't talk about it. And then, as time has went on, just last year, one of my grandmothers had told me that, they remember when I was little, and my mom came into my room and had asked me who I was talking to. And I was talking to my dead uncle, who had only met one time and had died 3 days prior. but I didn't know any different. So it's always kind of been there. But kind of like Don, it took me a long time to get to where I understood what it was and going on and get into this.
Right. Just because you're born into it and surrounded by it, I always tell my students, you have to learn, you have to have a good coach, you have to practice to really refine these abilities and skills, because you're just not born with the ability just to use them. We have to figure them out because we're living in this human world. And so
Oh, yeah.
it does take time and practice. I'm the same way. I started in like 1983, no, 86 in the field, and it was called the world of the metaphysical world. And I took courses to develop my abilities in a spiritualist church. And it was something that I've always thought I knew something was up. I had to figure out what was out there, what's going on with me. Why did I have this conversation with my uncle who had passed when I was younger? I remember this conversation. I'm like, what was that all about? So that was part of my discovery as well. And it took me a long journey, because back then we didn't have, the internet. We didn't even have email. So you had to learn by, word of mouth. And over the years, then I took a break from it and then came back to it, and then really, dove deep into it. So I know it takes work, and people don't realize. They think you're just born with the ability to do readings and be able to. No, you're born with abilities, and you've got to refine those and understand them and figure out how you receive the information, and make sure the active mind isn't in there trying to make things up.
Yep, exactly.
So how did you guys start on paranormal investigations?
Well, it was around, man, it's been I've been in this for a long time, but like I met Jordan, I guess like 5 years ago or something like that. And we were investigating where she was working at the Santa Fe Museum, I guess, there. And that's the first time that I literally met her. And, we were there to investigate and all this other stuff. And, even back then, I still didn't know where my path was in all of this. I just knew I liked this. And there was something very natural to this area of, of the paranormal, that just fit naturally with me. So, I mean, I was just like, okay, I'm going to go for all this, but it wasn't until maybe I think 2.5 years ago that you decided that we actually got together, and then she became part of my team, and man, we have not looked back since. So she's been with me for oh my gosh, a lot of cases. I think we do more cases than the average team does. So the amount of cases a person would get in probably like maybe 2 years, we will do probably like in 1 year. I mean, I think our first year together, I think we did like 115 cases, and then, it gradually would go down, but not severely much. So, I mean, she got a lot of experience right away in just learning that aspect of the paranormal, and not just, the abilities and all that other stuff. And, and it's like I would tell everybody else, and we tell everybody else, your abilities come as you start learning to use them, and she, as soon as she went in there, her first I guess her haunted tour with me, she was literally seeing stuff right away. She can tell you what was going on with that. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I also took a break somewhere around there as well, but that didn't stop anything from trying to communicate, from me seeing stuff and all those other things. And even when I wasn't even trying to look for anything, they were in my photos, they were in my recordings, I was just like, I can't get away from anything. So I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna jump in. Let's just do it. I'm going all the way in, and I haven't looked back since. And
wow,
been a good journey for me at least.
Sounds like a good team. Sounds like a real good team. So how do you guys do your investigations? What is your approach or style? Because everyone does it differently.
Go ahead, Jordan.
Oh, I mean, we've kind of changed it a little bit over time. Just especially because we've had to adapt to the kind of clients and everything that we have, and the cases that come in. So I mean, originally it became one of those things that we really were just working on. Just, we would get a case, they would come in, take it, go figure out what we need to figure out and kind of move on from there. But as we've eventually grown, so now what happens is that people will either contact us directly through like our Facebook page, or through a mutual friend, or we'll get a case from a case manager or something like that. We have an intake form that we do now, just because a lot of these cases and people have psychological problems that a lot of them don't like to address. And so the last resort usually in their brain is it has to be paranormal. So what we do is we have them fill it out. We don't really look at the form until after we've done our investigation. It's just kind of so we have a reference when we're there. John usually does a small phone interview with them just to kind of get the basics, to get the severity of it, see how soon or how fast we need to move with it. And then from there, we go into the investigation. We generally take, depending on the house size, several hours to do a walkthrough of the house to feel the energy, what's in there, how people are reacting ourselves, before we approach the family. Because I mean, I don't know about you, but a lot of times when people want to tell you what's going on, they give you the entire story all at once, and you just never get the full picture. So from there, it depends on what we're dealing with and what methods we take. So generally from there, we will go on with praying over the family if they allow us to, and cleansing their home. And then we move into kind of like the coach mentality of the rest of it, teaching them the next methods and, what they need to do to start working on their abilities or resources that they need to get in touch with, especially if it's a mental health case or something like that.
Really, bravo. It's a really wonderful approach. And
there's a small little step that I guess she didn't mention, but like on the whole on the whole mediumship side of it, to kind of verify what we're picking up that is actually true, we actually have cameras and recorders that are on us at all times as we're walking the house, showing that we're not digging through anything, we're not cold reading, we're not doing anything. So we're literally have it on us and write down anything, and then we take it to the client, and the recorder is still going. And then we sit the recorder in front of them as we're talking about the information that we're picking up. So you're seeing every little step that is going on as we're going through that entire night. So they're not, oh, well, they went in through my drawers and all that other stuff. No, we have everything on footage, from beginning to the end and everything else in between. So, so that way they know, okay, what you picked up is actually true and you're not looking through my journal.
Right. Yeah, that's important. We always have to establish credibility in this field. As psychic mediums or investigators, because some folks will do their research and then say, this is what it is. But that really kind of ruins everything for a lot of people when that is exposed. So that's great. Now, when you guys, what kind of equipment do you use? You do digital recorders, right?
Yeah.
And you have cameras. And do you use a spirit box?
So for our residential cases, we don't use very much equipment, simply because I always started from the beginning, from when I learned how to use my abilities, especially if you do have abilities, to sharpen those. So we go into a case with, like I said, with like you said, the cameras and the audio recorders and stuff like that. But pretty much it's what our equipment is ourselves. Go in, we're getting all these other stuff, and then to validate what's going on, we do speak with them and to get their reactions. And even if Jordan is like on point with stuff, their reactions to it shows you alone, like, yeah, okay, we're on to something here, but if there is something going on to where it has passed, okay, this is more than just a mental thing, then we will break out small pieces of equipment just to check the electrical, make sure it's not the electrical, make sure it's not something else. So we kind of go in steps and really figure out, okay, let's take that out of the equation, then what do we got left to deal with, and then we go from there. So it's not like just we're going to put up lasers and all this other stuff and just the family's all spooked already because they're already like, what are they doing now? So we kind of talk to them and baby step them and let them know what we're going to do right now, and then the next step and the next step. So we have already a built-in method to what we do already.
What are your abilities? What are your strongest abilities, each one of you?
Go ahead, Ben.
So I have clairvoyance and clairaudience. I always split back and forth to say which one's the strongest because it just kind of depends on the day. But my clairaudience is definitely the strongest, I think. Just because even when I don't want it to be on, it's still on sometimes,
Okay.
and I can't necessarily.
You're one of those.
Yeah, it's
always
on. And I have such a hard time trying to turn it off. But I mean, sometimes, and it just depends on what we're dealing with. Like my clairvoyance is a lot better. And literally, I mean, like John can tell you, I will wake him up so many times during the night and just be like, I don't know who that is, but they're walking through our house right now, and he's like, you just go to bed. It's okay. I'm like, no. Like they're obviously they're here. They're bothering me for something. Like we need to talk about this. I mean, I have other abilities, but I don't consider them to be very strong. It's kind of like a hit or miss thing with them. So I don't really find them very reliable, but those are my two strongest.
So your primaries are clairvoyance and clairaudience. And clairvoyance,
Mm-hmm.
talking about objective clairvoyance, where you can see it outside of your body, as well as you'll be getting it this, inside your mind as well. Okay, excellent. How about you, John?
So for me, my empathic ability is super high. I can also hear, I can see, I got the psychometry going on as well. But more than anything else, my ability kind of goes on the lower vibrational end of everything. I mean, if you set me and Jordan in there at the same time, she'll see something completely different.
Right.
And I'll sense the stuff that is like there, that is like really there to harm, and those things can.
I see. You're more in tune to more of a darker or a whatever energy.
Yeah.
So it's clairsentience. You're sensing and feeling it. So you're more clairsentient, or as you said, intuitive. Okay.
Yeah, and it's weird because like over time I've learned how to read it now. So it's almost like how somebody is reading Braille. Like I can, from what the energy is providing, I can actually know what it's saying, what it's thinking, what it's planning on doing. It's completely weird. It's almost like it's laying out a blueprint, and from that energy, I can really figure out what's going on. I even if we are dealing with something dark, I can even sense the amount of legions it is in charge of. I can sense. I mean, it's weird on how all that works, but I do feel that out now. I mean, I learned that the hard way because, I mean, like as everybody does, when you're starting to find out what your abilities are, I mean, you don't know how to control them, and just like Jordan, I mean, it's like non-stop,
Right.
I guess that's why now I'm just kind of like I've had that. I got it now to where I'm just like, okay, leave the room, leave the house, don't bother me until tomorrow at 3.
Right. That's what I tell students. It's your intention. Get out of my room. You're not allowed here. Get out. You've got. I always say you're stronger than their energy. So I'm trying to, come into your energy and saying, no, get out. Like kids who are like in the kitchen with mom, like, get out of the kitchen, get out of the kitchen. Same. So sense, and feel are your primaries, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cognizant.
It's just a lower vibrational things that are.
And you're more in tune and more interested in the dark. It sounds like.
I mean, I'm guessing it's just because of where I grew, how I grew up, and that's just what I know.
That's your specialty, right? That's great. I'm more claircognizant. Number one, I just know and I'm clairvoyant. I'm going to see it inside here, where I'll feel it and I'll gather information that way. Sometimes I'll get a little clairaudient, but more just knowing. I just know. So it just comes to me like that, and then I'll sense or feel it, and then hear it, and then, as you know, you put all these bits of evidence together, and you've got the information you need. That's great. I applaud you both. A lot of paranormal investigation teams, they have no clue. They're just running around trying to get you know, an EVP to say,
I guess that's why we get like EVP recordings like so easily. You know, I mean, she'll get stuff that is just like out of the just crazy. I get stuff that's just like, what in the world did they just say? You know, so but I mean, we
Mhm.
get more audio stuff than we do video, which is weird. You know, I mean, I spend my almost all my time just trying to capture something on video, but
Right.
more than 90%, it's all audio. And it's like sentences, and it's this, and it's that. It's calling our names, it's telling us what to do. And it says look up. I mean, it's like weird
Yeah.
stuff in conversations with us.
Look up. Okay. Um, do you guys do your investigations either at night or during the day or just only at night?
It honestly depends on the type of case that we're handling. If it's just like a standard like cleansing and investigation, usually we try to do them in the evening time, just because we generally find that that's the most active, and that's a lot of the time when our clients experience the most things is going to be in the evening or late in the night. So usually when we start about 7 p.m. And sometimes it can run all the way into, depending on the house and stuff, about midnight or so. But if it's a little bit of a darker case, and they're already experiencing things during the daytime, we don't really care at that point. We'll just go do it in the middle of the day,
Right.
just because it's easier that way than trying to do it at night. But it really just depends.
Right. I always say you can always communicate with the energy night or day. They don't know the difference between night and day. It's just energy out there, I say to my folks. I'm like, yeah, you can even do it remotely. Have you ever done it remotely? A remote investigation?
I I've tried, but it's weird because I've never really practiced it at all. And when I tried the first time, I was like, I just find it better for me to be in that place simply because I'm able to like stay focused and then just spread my energy out and just almost throw it out like a net and just like, okay, I can feel this. But I like to go room to room and just kind of feel things.
Feel the energy,
Yeah,
right?
that's how I
Sure.
work. Jordan, on the other hand, she's just like, boom.
She could probably pick up on it before she even arrives,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah,
I usually do.
Right.
um,
Which is stuff. This energy and our abilities transcend time and space. I can do readings over the phone. I don't have to see the person. I doing it in person is definitely a richer experience for sure. And what
yeah.
tripped me up early on, I wonder if it tripped you guys up when you go into a space and there's two different kinds of energy: residual energy that's stuck in that space, it's not active, it can't communicate, it's just a recording of something that goes on and on and on, versus active energy, which is spirit energy, and you can actually communicate. That threw me off early on until I realized, okay, this is how I experience a residual. Makes me dizzy. I get like, whoa, I feel like I'm on a ship. Active energy, I can actually have a conversation with. Did you guys figure that out early as well?
I had problems with it in the beginning because
Well,
when we sit down and I did my investigations and I would just write things as they were talking, because I'm super bad about sitting in front of a camera and trying to say what I'm experiencing. So as I would write things down and I would try to ask questions, I was like, well, some of this just doesn't exactly make sense to what we're talking about.
right,
But over time, I've slowly been able to kind of pick it apart to be like, okay, I kind of know what the temperament is whenever residual energy is there versus something that's intelligent. Because usually, if it's intelligent, I mean, just almost right away, I'll start getting those answers and stuff. And
right,
I mean, it's I think it's a little bit easier for me to be able to do it now, especially compared to how I was a couple years ago.
right. Good. Yeah, there's no real school for that paranormal investigations, is it?
No.
There is great schools for psychic mediumship work, for sure, but not paranormal investigation. So you kind of on the job training, I tell people.
oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about, I know you guys sent me some clips of some of your more interesting things. Which one would you like me to play first? Bow, or is it bowl?
Oh, broken bow.
Do you want to do that one, or do you want to do the class EVP,
We can
classic?
do Broken Bow because Broken Bow was our most recent one.
Oh, okay.
So Jordan, I sent him the ones when we were in the hall, and we heard the screaming on the other side of it, and we had to walk around outside to make sure it was okay.
Well,
okay.
let me see if I can share the screen here.
Hopefully, it's turned up.
I know. Hang on a second. I'm going to share the sound. Go here. And you see it now, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see. Here we go.
So for you, I'm going to leave this device that's in my hand. It has a red light on it. What I want you to do is I want you to come and speak into it. So any questions I have, I want you to answer me through that. Think that's possible? Tell me how mad you are. You ready? Yeah, so I'm walking away there towards our area, and I left the recorder in the other room.
And that's the EVP, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you.
Give me your name. Tell me why you're so angry. Did you hate the nurses? Did you hate being alive? If nobody could understand you, nobody could help you. This is your chance. Speak up. Speak up and tell us what was going on here. Why are you so angry? Your name Morris? Okay, I'm about to go get that recorder. Yeah, I couldn't hear it from my end, so. Yeah.
Are you using the Oculus? Or what device are you using to get the audio?
Just a straight recorder, voice recorder.
A voice recorder, like a digital voice recorder? Like your okay.
Excellent. Yeah. So we were on the left wing, and we were probably, I don't know, what do you want to say, about 50 yards away from that last door. So I originally just put the recorder back there, and I went back towards the beginning of the left wing. So I started asking questions over there and left the recorder on the other end. So we didn't hear any of, so people are probably going to have to go to the YouTube channel to actually hear it. But at the time, we didn't hear anything coming in or anything like that. So I went to go get the recorder, double check and do a live playback, and then we heard all this screaming on there and all this other stuff. We're like, what in the world? did we miss something, or was somebody screaming because all the windows were busted?
Mhm.
We went and double checked, and when I left the recorder back inside the door, then we all went back around the front end and then went around the side where the window was at where I left the recorder. There was nobody out there. The alley was empty. The yard across from us was just like looked like a big forest area. So there was nobody out there. So
Mhm.
I tried yelling myself too, just to see how it would sound compared from what we heard inside versus what my voice would sound. Um, totally different tones. Everything was completely different. It literally sounded like it was on the inside instead of the outside, so that one was pretty strange, and that's our most recent one.
Now, would you think that that would be a residual audio, residual energy from audio that was stuck there, and these are things that have happened? I was just wondering, do you think it was active spirit or residual? Because it sounds like, it was a scary place, and those things
Yeah.
have probably been said, over decades.
Oh, I was waiting for Jordan to answer. Sorry.
Oh,
What do you
sorry.
think, Jordan?
I mean, most definitely that whole area seemed very residual. We were using an ovulus as well. So that way Daniel and John, it makes it easier when we use those kinds of things. So I don't always have to hear everything. So we try to use those devices, and there was some intelligent energy that was coming through, but that wing was predominantly residual. And the room specifically that we had the recorder in, I had told John and our other teammate Daniel that there was a man that when we did our walkthrough, he was just kind of hanging out in that room, and you could just the temperament and everything. He seemed very angry about what he was. So that's when we started to really pursue that room a lot. And the more that we did, we have, and I don't know if it's that recording or if you have the other one, but we caught it somewhere in there of a nurse literally telling him to go back to bed, and I'm not going to tell you again. So it was very much a residual thing, but it was so amazing to actually be able to hear that on recording, because I mean, I don't feel like we get a lot of residual energy on recordings very often, but I mean, that was just an impressive timestamp that we were able to get.
Well, I agree. Was it another one? Did I have that audio? I have a Class A EVP commercial property, or the other one? Which should I?
So the commercial one is the one where Jordan is here in Temple, and so she goes out the door, and then something tells her to look up, and then she's walking back, and it says Jordan.
Oh, that's nice. That's really nice. So the place you were at before was it a mental hospital, or was it just a
Mhm.
hospital?
Yeah, so the building was originally, so it's got a really weird history about it. So it's in Broken Bow, Oklahoma. They're actually giving the building to the animal shelter, I believe now, something like that. But the building used to be a nursing home in the 50s. And then once they started getting a decline in residents, they split. So there were 3 wings of the nursing home. So they sold off the other 2 wings and leased them out. So one wing that we were closer to was a reformatory school where supposedly a child committed suicide. And then the far wing on the right, the right-hand side was a trauma bay. So there was so much stuff just coming in and out around that building. But that building was so active to the point that when we hit the trauma bay side, we were in there maybe 30 minutes on that side when everything happened, to the point that both John and our other teammate had noticed there was something that was like lurking back and forth in the hallways where we were at. And I started getting really tight chested, and I was having a really hard time. So it got to the point that what was in there was just not willing to back off with anybody saying anything at that point. So we literally ended our investigation early in that building, and I think that's the only time we've ever done that.
Yeah, but it wasn't because of that though. It was just because I don't know. I would have spent more time in there, but it's almost the knight in shiny armor thing. It's just like she's in trouble, and I just don't do that. I usually I would just gun ho and be like, okay, I'm gonna push through this and see how far I can get to it. But with Jordan there, and she gets affected. I'm sorry, babe, but it gets affected to her. It gets to her fairly easily, and when it does, it does have an effect on her, So for me, I'm kind of like, okay, I can't push it that much, So I don't, because there's obviously boundaries that I have with these things, and I don't care if he wants to communicate with me, throw me against the wall, whatever, but don't touch her.
Right,
So,
right.
So, but it's just like, okay, when that starts to affecting her and I see it on her, I'm like, okay, maybe we shouldn't push through this, like we should, otherwise I would have been like, hey, come on, let's do this.
So did you guys have a solution, or you just went in to gather the information? Was there any cleansing? Was there just a
So
download for the client? How did you guys end it?
we heard what this was like the last year that place was going to be, any type of an investigation to be in there, so that was on the bucket list. So, let's go ahead and do it. Yeah, to gather information, because we've heard so many things about that place, and we like to find out for ourselves. We don't like to hear other people's things or anything like that and then go on with the pre-notion like, oh yeah, they heard this and they heard that. Okay, so we like to go in and, being a photographer as well, we like to go get photos and all that other stuff just to admire the building itself. And then later on, it's almost like, okay, now we can do the investigation part, and the investigation part is not really like the highest thing for me. I like to go and get photos and admire the building, and just, feel the energy and admire the whole entire process of it, so why not go and do it, but it was pretty active. And I think I remember telling Jordan and Daniel this too. I'm like, if it is true that it is going to an animal shelter and all the other stuff, I told her I believe whatever is in there, it's going to harm those animals.
Oh, okay. Did you advise them be careful, or
no? I mean, I maybe we should, but I personally I'm still looking through all the evidence still,
okay.
Yeah, but just how it reacted to us, it seemed like some of it residual, but then some of it was just
some active.
Yeah, and
Okay.
they've already said that they have already had a couple of people go in there just trying to work on it, and they either saw something or felt something, and then they literally left. Even owners, co-owners, or partners or something like that. They went in there and, yeah, they saw something and they were like, nope, I'm selling my half and I'm gone. So
Right,
it was that bad. I imagine what he could do to animals and stuff like that. And
right. Okay.
yeah.
So but it sounds like you guys, it was such an active place that you wanted to go and gather some good evidence and sense it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about.
Yeah, we.
Okay.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I said, tell me about the Leander investigation. Leander, Texas. Was it Leander? 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 Where you said that other paranormal investigators who have attempted to help have ended up in the hospital. Where was that?
Oh, that
Is that Maypearl?
Yeah, I think so. That's Mary Pearl.
Mini
yes.
Pearl?
Yeah. So no. Lately, I can't remember. We get so many cases. I apologize.
No.
I think Leander.
The one that we were just in Leander for, the latest one.
No.
You had posted on Facebook a few months ago about you guys were going to go and do an investigation, and those others who tried to go in and ended up maybe in the hospital or something.
Oh, okay. I got you now. Yeah. So
I was reading your Facebook.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. So that was given to us by another investigator. Now, the whole story behind that one is like every single time that this family would try to get somebody to go help them, either they would get sick, something would happen to their car, they would end up in the hospital, and all the other stuff.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's how all those, I guess, stories came about. And she was so scared about even trying. She didn't even want to talk to us because she was afraid that, oh, you guys are going to wind up in the hospital. So I told her, I was like, you know what? if we're not meant to be there, we're not meant to be there. And if we are, we'll be there. So yeah, we had a conversation, all that other stuff, and she was scared. So you just talk about what was going on. Um, she kind of thought it was like a big curse that was going on in her family and all this other stuff. And, we finally get there and we do what we do, and that's not it. That's not it. This is probably it. And it's weird because some of the cases that we do have, they think, okay, that's the primary person who's going through all of it. And then we do a prayer over them, and it's not them, and it's the guy who's not really involved with the family. And then once we pray over them, and they're having reactions, they're already going through all this other stuff. Like, what? I thought you said he wasn't involved. Well, I mean, he does have nightmare, and he does. I mean, like, kind of told us that part, But yeah, that one was that was like another hand-me-down case, from.
Okay. What was the main cause or the main problem from your perspective?
Initially she thought that there was like a big curse that was going on in her family. Right. It turned out like this person also had abilities as well, and she did not know how to control all of that, and it was pretty much just like whatever was coming, she was accepting. Oh yeah, that's this. Oh yeah, that's that. I call this my friend. Do you see that thing over there? And Jordan was like, that thing is your friend? It's like, just no, because Jordan seen it for what it was, and they were seeing it as something else,
right?
Or it would portray itself as something else, and then they were just like, well, I can live with it, So they had all these things going on, and we actually sat down with them and tried to help them out, but a lot of this stuff too. I mean, a lot of the people can only, if they're willing to accept the help and willing to follow the things that we provide, then it will help them out. But if they choose not to,
they don't always follow. I put together I call it a prescription. It's like 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 items. Like once I do like, this is what I recommend for you, for your space, whatever. And sometimes I run into, oh no, the ghosts are not stealing your stuff.
Yeah.
I go in and you're a hoarder, and unfortunately you have, a bit of dementia, and you've forgotten where you put things, those kind of things. It's like, it blew up here in Washington. I'm in Washington, D.C. The New York Times reporter came with me because she said, this amazing story. And then I get there and I'm like, oh geez, no, this man is in his, probably late 70s and has dementia and has misplaced things. So it wasn't the ghost, it was him. And I said, do all these things, but then, doesn't do them all, and then calls me up and said, they took this check I had. And
goes to writing checks.
I thought, ask the spirits where it is. Day later, oh, I found it in the bathroom where I saw it last. It's like, because you have forgotten it. So yeah, I know. And you try your best, and most of these people that we deal with, sensing, have abilities, and they have not, they're not aware of it, they haven't developed it, and so they're getting a sense of energy, or they're feeling things, or even experiencing things like PK manifestation. Are you familiar with PK manifestation? AKA poltergeist, which is, people think it's the ghost moving. Like, no, it's not the ghost moving things. It's somebody in the house who's living, who has their energy, emotional energy is probably way off, and they're making things fly across the room, making things disappear and reappear. It's not the ghost, it's this person, or it's you, so it's like, wow. And so we're having to educate people.
Oh yeah.
When we do these investigations, and we try to help. I'm sure you guys are trying to help people using your own abilities, but it's like, we have to educate a lot of times. I just love the PK manifestation poltergeist stuff, which is phenomenal. I've never seen things fly across the room myself, but it happened so fast, and it's like, what's going on with you? What's going on in your life? Kind of a thing. And say, oh, okay, yeah, this is, you have a problem with, or it's a teenager, or it's an adult with with an emotional problem, or a high, energy and emotion towards anger towards this other person, and seething. That's why things are flying at your boyfriend. It's like, oh, it's not the ghost. No,
Does sound like you.
It's you. Let's learn to calm your energy.
Yeah.
Um, how do you guys do home cleansings? You guys do home cleansings like I do, right?
Mhm.
Just and what's your process? I always love everyone has their own different way of doing it,
Go ahead, Ben.
which is great.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I thought you haven't answered the question, so I was like waiting for you. No, so pretty much, we don't do anything without permission, anyways. So before we are to do any type of blessing or anything like that, the family has to give us the okay.
Right.
It may take a little bit because sometimes the husband and wife are not seeing eye to eye on stuff, and we'll talk outside, and they'll go outside and talk about it, or the husband would just, okay, whatever, I'm just gonna sit here. So,
Hmm.
so first and foremost, we do get permission. We do everything, by the word of God. We take holy water, sage, and all that other stuff, and we do all the rituals for that, including praying over the family. Now,
Hmm.
that last part, as elementary as it may sound, it is a big step that people do not want to do, simply because right then and there, if you are somebody with abilities and that exchange of energies, and once you're placing your hand on someone and trying to release whatever type of energy it is, an attachment, whatever it may be, I mean, literally, you're putting you're on the battlefield with them as soon as you put your hand on them, and literally trying to take that away. So a lot of people just do not want to do that. I've worked with a lot of people from the church areas who just don't want to do that at all. They understand what's going on there, so they don't want to do it. Um, we do it all the time. That is something that I was taught with my dad and everything like that. He done that, and I do the same thing. Um, Jordan does it as well. So I don't know if anybody else does, but that's pretty much what we do. But then again, as well, that part right there is something very personal to that person. So we do have to ask them, for
Mhm.
if for approval, if we can do that. Now, respectfully, if they like their house cleansed and they're like, no, I don't want you to pray with me. Okay, well, that's fine. But here is what's going to happen if we don't allow it. But we're not pressuring you. We're not doing any of that stuff. But things cannot get better unless Jordan has better words for it, so to speak. I'm very blunt on that part. She likes to do the finessing and, okay, listen up.
Right. This is why it's important, right, Jordan?
Mm-hmm.
You're having to educate.
Yeah.
You have to educate and explain a lot of, some of the things that we do. I've learned my more powerful cleansings is when I include the people involved. I'm not the pest control guy going around and then, okay, your house is clean. I like them because they're the ones experiencing. Get involved. What's our intention? What's your intention? Claim your space. I love it when I can integrate the folks who are, in those spaces or having difficulties as well. But everyone has a different ritual to it, and I love it. And I think that's really, really important is to have ritual and intention. And you guys are bringing in a variety of different techniques, from your ancestors to what currently is going on now.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
smart, very smart.
that's some of the things that we even use. Like there's a thing that that I used right now to this day that my dad used, and he specifically made it for going one on one with this person. And it's like a little lasso, probably about as long as my arm,
Okay.
and has little braids on it. But each braid that he did was with a prayer. So and it's super long and it's blessed and all this other stuff. And I mean, that's what he used. So
He
when he passed,
made his own rosary bead or
yeah,
religious beads. That's
yeah,
powerful.
yeah.
Very
So when he passed, it was handed down to me. So
nice.
hopefully, either one of my kids or somebody will fall into line and see who wants to take the torch from there. But that will be passed on from them. But hopefully, that's what my dad used for that time.
Great. What's the next video we should look at or listen to? The Broken.
I guess we can do the visual one is
The Spooky Boy.
I guess it's the Pampa Worley Hospital, White Mist.
White Mist. Did you send me that one?
I think so.
I have a class. Is that the commercial property or the Broken
You can do
Bow?
the commercial property. That one has Jordan. Jordan can kind of explain to
All
you.
right, Jordan, you ready? Here we go.
You were with James on that one over here at the Amanda's business.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All right, hang over a second.
Temple, Texas. This is a commercial property that needed some answers and needed some help. Listen closely to these Class A EVPs that are directly for Jordan.
Wow. Explain that one.
So okay. So we have members of our team, but we also take people in on training for consideration to become a part of what we do. So I was with a trainee that we had with us. And one of the things that he was trying to learn was to better his abilities a little bit better. He wanted to really hone in on that clairaudience and everything. So we were literally sitting in an office, just kind of going back and forth on questioning and everything. And as we were sitting there and we were talking and just kind of like releasing back and forth, just what was going on. I mean, sometimes things have a way of answering my questions a little bit better than I want to. That's also the same room that we were having a conversation and it started to backtalk our trainee. And I mean, like a full, like I have never heard it before kind of accent. I mean, it was impressive. But the thing is that I didn't ever hear it audibly. I literally had to listen to the EVP to be able to hear that one. And sometimes like it's crazy because like John explained earlier, I don't like using recorders and stuff. Like I'm really bad about it. I'll just turn it on and then leave it there and then don't touch it. So when I do that kind of stuff, I don't ever go back and listen to myself afterwards. So it's crazy because a lot of the times there will be words that I hear that is picked up through the recorder, and he'll tell me like 3 weeks later, he's like, why didn't you tell me that this happened? I was like, I don't know. You don't ask. I'm like, I didn't know you could hear it. Like, I'm sorry, but that building was really interesting. I think it was a pediatric clinic before, but what was there was very intelligent. I mean, there was some definite residual, but the residual tracked all the way back to when the land was originally like kind of, I guess, just in the beginnings of Texas almost. Later finding out research, we found out that building and that land had actually had a barn fire on it. So what we were seeing and hearing and everything else, I mean, it was very spot on with what had been there prior.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So you didn't hear those recordings until the next day?
Yeah. So the way that one worked, and I don't know if you run into this, but I run into it a lot. So as they're sitting there, they do have a recorder going, and then I actually have the camera going at the same time. Right. Those whispers those EVPs did not go on the recorder itself, but it was on the audio recording the camera. So you could hear everything going in real time, but when it comes to the voice recorder, there was nothing there at all. But you listen to the camera audio, you'll hear it all day long. I'm like, what in the world? But that like I said, I run into it all the time, and it's just so weird, how they just like, I'm just gonna pick this certain frequency to speak on and not this other one.
I know. let me share something with you. It happened to me. It's just I was doing someone's interviewing me on their podcast,
Mhm.
and she, you after your podcast, you have to go and review it, and you have to make sure that the ums and the ahs, it makes it clear and fast. So let's just.
Okay, so I'm editing right now, and Kevin, you're talking about how maybe some people can hear and feel things, they just don't know it. And right here, it sounds like a man whispering, hi. So it's like you're talking and then you pause, and then all of a sudden you hear this, hi. So take a listen, see what you think. And again, it's going to be this guy right here. So
it's just a matter of
hi. So he's like, hi.
Wow.
So what was interesting is after that, I didn't hear it.
I've gotten a lot of EVPs.
Oh, she's still talking.
Sometimes it's just like other sounds going to bed. I'm not sure I could really debunk that. So I just like your opinion.
So what happened is after the
Okay, so I'm editing, right?
we did the podcast. I was talking and I connected with the spirit around her. I said, "Oh, I've connected with this young man who, let me give you some evidence as part of mediumship, give some evidence of who this person was, their personality, so we can identify who this person is."
Yeah.
And I said, he's really happy that you're investigating. He's very interested in what you're doing, and he was just really to say hello or to greet. And it was so interesting that later then we got the hi in there. So it was interesting. I picked up on it later, but never heard that during the thing. So I know those EVPs are kind of like, oh, I wish I'd heard that, but it's so light, right?
Yeah, there was one that I was on. It was called oh my gosh, it's like a Bigfoot type of podcast, and it's called The Bazaar or something. I forgot what it's called. Sorry if I forgot the name, but yeah, while we were doing that, he was going through editing process, and he was hearing like some children in the background of my audio, and I was like, dude, I got no kids over here. My kids are like fully grown and all this other stuff, and it was during school too. So he was like, yeah, I'm hearing kids in the background. I'm like, I don't know, man.
I know it's amazing. How about this Spooky Boy Paranormal podcast? Is this a EVP as well?
Can you show me what it is? So
I think that's the video, the white mist video.
Oh, the white mist. Okay, let's see. Where is it? Well, it is the white mist video. Let's share that one.
This was captured at the War Lake Hospital. A white mist jumps out of the floor and runs off to the right. You can see a shoulder and a head as it runs by.
One more time.
Here's one more time in slow motion as it runs by and across the hall.
There it is. Love the sound effects. So did anyone pick up on it energetically, that there was somebody there, or you guys saw this the next day like, oh damn, why didn't we?
So I'll get my take on it, and then Jordy can give her take, because it was almost like, I really don't know. So for me, spent the entire night there just trying to gather so much evidence, because we literally drove, how many hours was it? 7 or 8 hours or something?
6 hours.
Oh my God.
Just to get there. So man, we got there, we heard little bits of things, and it mostly felt residual. So when I didn't really think very much of it at all. And then that piece that you seen was literally the end of the night. Like, we're getting ready to go. I went to go pick up my camera and call it a night. And going back and seeing the evidence, I was like, it took all night long just to get that. So yeah, to me, I was just like, okay, cool. That's a cold capture, but it literally took all night. Right.
It's a visual, right? It's a visual. That's one of the more difficult things to capture. What do you think, Jordan?
That place really was. It was an old hospital. So there was a lot of residual things that were just kind of hanging out there. And I think that had gotten to the point of the night where, I mean, we were just tired. I was ready to go. So we were just kind of, the people that we were with, we were kind of waiting for them to wrap up. And we were like, okay, but there was so much traffic and noise and everything, but the windows are really boarded up on that side. So there's no cars that are coming this way to where the light could have reflected. And I mean, we played it back every single way we possibly could, trying to get it to make it happen or think how it could happen. And I mean, we could just never figure it out.
Mm.
No.
But that's a really cool catch, though.
Yeah,
Really
that's kind of my most favorite ones. I mean, I don't think I've caught anything. I mean, I probably have. I don't remember right now, but that's the most recent one that I've caught so far, as far as something going across the screen. You know, but like I said, most of our stuff is all audio.
So was it residual or was it active, you think?
I want to say it was, man.
I want to say it was residual.
I agree.
Because there was almost nothing in that building that was intelligent at all.
I picked up on that too. I'm like, oh, that's probably residual. But I was curious.
I'm kind of leaning on that residual thing because there was not very much there. I mean, just doing interactions with, you know, it was a hospital, so we were talking to it as patients or as nurses or whatever it was. I mean, it wouldn't react to anything. So, you know, there were certain things that you would hear in the kitchen. But in the kitchen, of course, that would be the residual area because that's where a lot of food and everybody eats there. That area is the same place. I mean, you know, I would lean more towards the residual side.
Yeah,
it's a nice residual.
But still, it's you know, capturing this energy that people, you know, are fascinated with.
Oh yeah.
Now, have you guys, I'm trying to get the other things here. I wanted to share with you. Here's a little, I went overseas, you know, on vacation. So when I travel overseas, I always like to connect with the energy there. So I was in Vietnam and Cambodia right before the pandemic. And in Vietnam, we went to, you know, the first place was Hanoi. Just got off the plane. We're, you know, a bit, you know, trying to get our legs under us. But we went to the Hanoi Hilton. You ever heard of the Hanoi Hilton?
Mm-hmm.
POW camp where Senator McCain was, you know, put in. And so I did a 1 minute, I said, I'm going to open up, you know, and feel the energy, you know, because it's a tourist space. I just wanted to share. This is how I kind of do things. When I jump around and go abroad. So here it is right here. My face is up in the corner there.
Gotcha.
Okay, I'm going to just give you my impressions. I've been touring this location and super dizzy. Head hurts, chest hurts. I'm just picking up on the residual energy in this location, which is just very painful, very sad, desperate. So I'm just giving you a pan around here. We're at, they would say maybe the Hanoi Hilton here in Vietnam. This is where prisoners have been kept for over 100 years, from the French to the Japanese and then the Vietnamese. Very odd and sad energy, which just makes me super dizzy. So I'm just picking up on the residual energy here in this space.
Wow.
Those are always fun to do for one. But yeah, that's when I realized it was like being on a ship. I was like, whoa, I'm literally holding on, you know, trying to get through this. And that's the way residual energy affects me. And it was just such a sad place where the American POWs were kept during the Vietnam War.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We, what was that museum that we went to in Dallas? Holocaust?
Yeah.
That place, I mean, they had a train cart there as well. And you know, I thought it was just like something that they would just use just to put in there, but it actually, you know, when we stepped inside of it the first time when I walked into it, you know, I kind of felt a little bit disoriented as well, and I didn't like that energy in there. Then I went back outside to actually see if it was an actual train cart that they use, and it was. And I was just like, oh shit, this was weird. This is a weird one, But yeah, it's funny how that residual energy hits you like that.
And when you step out of that space, you don't feel it. When you step into it, it's like it was phenomenal. I always tell people, you've got to figure it out. How do you feel? Some people feel sick to their stomach. They're feeling residual. How do you guys feel? Jordan, how do you feel when you're picking up residual? Do you have an emotional or a physical feeling?
It's mostly like it's dependent on how strong it is. So like when we went to that museum, I felt physically sick to my stomach, and it like just walking around the building and stuff, like you could just feel everything. It almost just feels like you're in an ocean to me. So like, I'm just flowing kind of back and forth. And once I hit that point that it's just so overwhelmingly strong, I will either get really sick to my stomach or I will start to cry for absolutely no reason. I will just cry.
Yeah, you're a super sensitive empath. Bam, you feel it.
I'm sorry.
It's true.
Same thing, get very emotional, and then it's just weird.
It is this whole field. Well, I think I've chatted you guys long enough. Tell everybody how they can reach you guys. What's the best way for folks to reach you, contact you, ask about doing investigations? How would you like folks to reach out to you?
Yeah, so pretty much the easiest way is Facebook, Dark Explorers Paranormal Team. The other stuff is just mainly our evidence, so people can see them. The YouTube channel, Dark Explorers Paranormal, that's where a lot of a majority of our evidence is at, on there. But to directly contact us would be the Facebook page. We also got a webpage up, Dark Explorers Paranormal Team as well, so you can look us up through there. But yeah, Facebook would be the best way.
So Facebook is the Dark Explorers Paranormal Team page, right?
Yes.
Okay. And what we'll do is that was going to be put on YouTube as well. We're going to list all those on there, so that folks can contact you. And for me, Facebook is nice. It really is where a lot of things go. But with Facebook, it's like we don't own it. They could kick us off. They could have technical difficulties for us. So I always folks, if people want to contact me, send them to my website, kevinpaulpsychicmedium.com. And there I post all my YouTubes and everything, just repost, because people are like, I'm not a member of Facebook anymore, or I'm whatever. It's like, okay, I kind of have it all in one space. And I've just learned it's the easier, because you control your own website versus Facebook going, okay, I think that we're going to change the way things look on our page. I'm like, oh, geez.
Tired of them changing things already.
It's crazy. Well, I want to thank you both. Really, I really have learned so much about the way you are doing your paranormal investigations. I really am happy, that you guys are using your abilities and making it real and working with evidence and looking at things, using some technology, but also using your own skills and abilities to get it done. And I'm really, really, impressed and happy to hear that.
We appreciate the opportunity to come on.
Bravo. Thank you so much. And what I'll do is I'll try to get this posted this evening, and then, people can watch it whenever they want on YouTube and on Facebook. And then, they can reach out and get some help from you both.
Well, we will be sharing it like crazy. So
good. Me too. I will too. I think you guys are great, really great. And maybe I'd like to bring you back to talk about a show that I did on YouTube called Demonic Possessions, Attachments, and Spiritual Parasites. And we can talk about the dark.
Well, we got a lot to talk about.
I know. So this is just the first one. All right. You guys take care. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye, Jordan. Bye, Jonathan.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.